Weinstein, holy moly. He is lucky that he's rich and white, otherwise he might be in trouble. Now brace yourselves for a freezing weekend with temperatures plummeting to -10.
Oh no!
-10. Met Office be aware warnings have been issued.
Warning, warning!
For ice in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales and central and southern England. Wait a minute. Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales and central and southern England. That's, yeah, everywhere. Warnings are in place for everywhere. Temperatures are going to plummet well below freezing as Britain is battered by wet and windy weather. It's going to be up to 20 centigrade lower than at the start of the week as this blast of cold air blows in from the northwest. Blimey, it's like winter out there.
Correct.
Blustery showers and sleet are expected as temperatures settle below freezing for several days, bringing harsh frosts. Some parts of Scotland had 2 inches of snow this week, which in centimetres is 2 inches of snow. It's like 2.5 centimetres to the inch. So that's 2 times 2.5 is 4010. It's 4010 centimetres. Can you believe that?
No.
Met Office forecaster Alex said it's quite a bit colder. Sunday night into Monday, temperatures are looking particularly cold. We could see -3C to -6C, whatever that is. He said it's going to be a cold and frosty start on Monday with a harsh frost. And you could get down to -2 this evening. And to get to Fahrenheit, to -2, you double -2 and add 32, but you can't double a minus number, so it is literally impossible to figure out.
Affirmative.
It's quite a change from the balmy temperatures that we were seeing last week, though, eh? Bookmaker Coral is odds on at 10 to 11 for the temperature to drop below as low as -15 centigrade. Did that make any sense? No, it's probably my fault. Bookmaker Coral is odds on at 10 to 11 for the temperature to drop as low as -15. I have no idea what that means. 10 to 11, what does that mean? The firm said it continues to see a flurry of bets for February to be the coldest on record. People are betting on that. Place your bets, bet nah. You'll never lose. Your money is safe. It's an investment. So, where should we start? How about the Russian oligarch crackdown? There's this really dire, dull, excruciatingly boring program on television called McMafia. Have you seen that?
No.
I bet my glamorous assistant hasn't wasted any of her time watching that rubbish.
I watched the first one and then I thought...
Exactly. Precisely right. I stupidly watched the first 2. I think they showed them one after the other on the same day. And after the first one, I thought, no, it's a no from me. And then because the other one happened to be on, I watched the second one, and I thought, at the end of 2 hours, which I'll never get back, by the way, thanks a lot, BBC, I thought, do I care about any of these people? No. And that is the first thing, that is the very essence of a television drama. You should at least care about them. It just looked like another bloke was auditioning to be the next James Bond. He is not going to be the next James Bond. And neither's that skinny bloke who was in The Night Manager, whatever his name is. It ain't him neither. The game has been upped. You can't just look good and pout to be James Bond anymore. You've got to look like you could kill people, not just be a model in the Grattan catalogue. That was terrible, that show, and they just kept going on and on about it. Oh, the advertising and the encomiums to watch. Oh, it's the most fantastic drama, they said. No, it wasn't. It was rubbish. But anyway, as though real life was following art, which I suppose it actually is, the government has leapt into action to protect us from a television programme. Well, it's a little bit late. A government minister said that Russian oligarchs may be targeted or tackled in the latest crackdown on corruption. Yeah, that's right. The government is going to target Russian oligarchs just as soon as they run out of money. Security Minister Ben Wallace said the full force of government would be brought to bear on foreign criminals and corrupt politicians who use Britain as a haven. Really? Just one small problem with that, Ben. Making a haven for the stolen wealth of foreign politicians and the international criminal super-rich is what we do for a living. And unless Brexit is going to produce unimagined immediate riches, I would think twice about killing that particular golden goose. I mean, it's a bit late to start getting queasy about the choices we've made in life when you're pregnant and going down the church aisle. Or getting a shotgun out in the jewellers. You've made your life choices. As we have, we've allied ourselves with the banking racket. We turn our back on that lot. What are we going to do for a living? Make silver collar stiffeners and jade cufflinks. I don't know what else we've got. They're calling them the UWOs, Unexplained Wealth Orders. And officials are going to use these Unexplained Wealth Orders, which came into effect this week, to seize suspicious assets and hang on to them till they have been properly accounted for. And over there east, about a mile or so in that direction, he said, pointing in an easterly way, entire office buildings of shiny accountants are at this moment sharpening their pencils to account for those very same assets. Security Minister Ben Wallace said, when we get to you, we will come for you, for your assets, and we will make the environment that you live in difficult, he said. He's talking about Russian oligarchs. Does anybody believe a blind word that has been said so far?
No.
No, not really. Who's he kidding? When we come for you, for your assets, we will make the environment that you live in difficult with these unexplained wealth orders. Okay, quick show of hands. Do you expect that the people that will be targeted will be a close personal billionaire friend of Vladimir Putin or a plumber who's just bought a Range Rover with the money he made off the books? Exactly. So this is life following art, like I said, because it suddenly became an issue because of that dull BBC drama series McMafia, which, if you could stay awake long enough, showed the Russian criminal super-rich going about their nefarious deeds in London, where hiding dodgy money is our business model. It's what we do. Germans make cars, French make cheese, and we make money disappear. The Russian embassies are very upset about this, but you expect them to be. The Russian embassy's Twitter account said that the drama depicts as a playground for Russian gangsters London. It was probably translated badly from Russian, but that's more or less what they said. London, this drama depicts Britain as a playground for Russian gangsters. And they asked followers of their Twitter account to guess how many Russian offenders are currently in the UK prisons. Have a wild stab in the dark. How many? How many to the nearest 1,000? I'll make it really easy for you. That's right, 0. Fewer than 10, as in almost no one. Ben Wallace is our security minister. He pointed to the so-called laundromat case in which ghost companies, many based in the UK, were used to launder dirty Russian money. Dirty money.
Disgusting.
We launder them through Western banks, and he put this forward as an example of Russian involvement in organised crime. But what it actually showed more was that the Western banking system is involved in organised crime. I mean, it's not like they don't know where this money comes from. Somebody comes with a suitcase with £1 billion in it. I'm not actually sure you could get £1 billion in a suitcase. In fact, you probably can't. But a massive amount of money, or they squirt £1 billion up your bank, and they don't ask any questions. They don't ask any questions as to where it comes from because they'd rather not know. They just want the money, honey. I mean, Europe's biggest bank, with a huge building that dominates the London skyline, was fined $1.9 billion by the Americans for money laundering for Mexican drug lords. So why would the same industry shy away from the billions that they can make in the global gangster business? But we're invited to think that the banks, despite their absolutely abysmal record on everything that you could possibly think of, from chiseling small businesses into extinction, to laundering the proceeds of drug cartels, we're invited to think that these are all historical crimes. Oh, we certainly don't do anything like that today. Well, okay, we were doing it yesterday. All right, this morning. Okay, last hour, but this hour? Oh, no, we're well past that. We're your friends. They make up 80%, the services industry, which is, primarily the banking racket and the accountancy racket and the estate agency racket and all of those associated and assorted rackets make up 80% of our economy. Like I said, it's what, apart from going out and buying things that we don't need with money we haven't got, it's what we do for a living. And now we're going to crack down on that because, we got plenty of money. Oh, we got no end of cash in this country. Officials estimate that around £90 billion of illegal funds is laundered through the UK every year. 90 billion. It slooshes through our system. And a lot of people get very wet. In theory, these unexplained wealth orders allow the British authorities to freeze and recover property if individuals are unable to explain how they acquired assets in excess of £50,000. They'll ask them, how did you get this, sir? And they'll say, yeah. A security, like a football team, for instance, or like a street, or an entire area of prime central London. That sort of thing. How did you come and buy this, sir? Security Minister Ben Wallace said that a lawmaker from a country where MPs do not receive big salaries, who suddenly buys a luxury townhouse in central London, would have to prove how they paid for it. He says, we'll seize that asset, we will dispose of it, and we'll use the proceeds to fund our law enforcement. He says, I'll put pressure on the law enforcement agencies to use them, these unexplained wealth orders. Really? Well, first, they'll have to unentangle the offshore fund that bought that property and the myriad shell companies that the cash was routed through and the offshore accounts that it came from, and the best of luck with that, because they will have been constructed by the best minds in the business. Good old British bankers. The Mail was reporting that, and it went even worse than that, one louder than that, because now not only are we looking at a private health service. I mean, there is already a two-tier health service in this country. Let's not pretend otherwise. If you've got money, then the doctor will see you immediately. If you haven't, then you'll probably die before your appointment comes around. But now there's a private police service in this country as well. A determination to crack down on the very thing that we make money from. Hiding other people's money. And if you believe that, then I've got a bridge over the River Thames I'd like to sell you. Mark says 10 to 11, as in this, people are betting at the odds of 10 to 11 that February is going to be the coldest month ever. It's all thanks to global warming.
Affirmative.
He says 10 to 11 means you bet £11 to win 10. So you're betting more than you could win. Oh, that sounds like a great deal. Where do I sign? Margaret says the McMafia guy was Bobby Moore in an earlier television programme, and he wasn't convincing in that either. What, Bobby Moore as in the footballist? He shoots, he misses. Everybody wants to be the new James Bond. Well, apart from the cachet, to step into the shoes of Sean Connery and Roger Moore and that brutish bloke who's playing it now. What's his name? What's that fella's name? I bet my glamorous assistant knows what the fella's name is.
Daniel Craig.
Is the correct answer. Daniel Craig. You said that suspiciously quickly. And you know, the other ones. So there's the cachet of stepping into those highly polished shoes, and also the money. Don't forget about the money, honey. Bev says, never mind McMafia, have you seen the other BBC blockbuster, Hard Sun? Lie down in a dark room material. I never even heard of it, but thanks for the warning. And you heard that here first, by the way.
Warning!
Swerve Dark Hard Sun, or whatever it's called. And Sean says, absolutely spot on, the banks are rotten to the core. Well, unless they've got a cute, furry cartoon animal in their television advertising, in which case they're your friends. Get this. Now, keep in mind that we are apparently a nation that is about to go after billionaire Russian gangsters, with all of the expense that would involve. I mean, can you imagine how much money it would take to bring down billionaires? Billionaires who are supported by the Russian state. I mean, they'd have to be. You don't become that rich and not be a close personal chum of Vlad the Insaner. So on the one hand, there's that, and on the other hand, we've got so little money that the police have given up on solving crime. To the extent that the country's first private police force is now investigating hundreds of crimes that regular police officers are too busy to look at. Busy. This is a firm led by former Scotland Yard senior officers, and they have apparently successfully prosecuted more than 400 criminals. And they're now carrying out murder inquiries. You've got to be kidding me. You'd think that the police would have enough time to investigate murder, but apparently not. We just haven't got the money for it. Sorry about that. The company called TMI, as in EYE, they have apparently a 100% conviction rate. And there are thoughts to bring more private prosecutions than any other organisation, except for one. Guess what that is? Not the actual police, but there's another organisation that brings more private prosecutions than anybody else. Can you guess what it is? Shall I ask her? All right, she seems to know everything. I'd like my glamorous assistant wants to chip in. What organisation do you think brings more private prosecutions than anybody else?
Now you're going to ruin my 100% record.
Oh, no. How about if I give you a clue?
Okay.
RSPMA. Correct. The RSPCA. There's so many things about this story that are rocking me back on my heels. I'm stunned. The RSPCA brings more private prosecutions than any other organisation in the country. Wow. I thought they were all about saving pussycats and puppy dogs. Who knew? But anyway, the number two with a bullet, is this private police force called TMI. It's the country's first private police force, and it's the future, baby. Here's what it does. They've got a service called My Local Bobby, which is basically putting the police back on the streets. You know, Bobby's on the beat. Costs you £200 a month. But you got to, I think it would be best if you got your entire street to chip in, because you can't just station a police person outside your personal house for £200 a month. I think they'd have to have one person who walks up and down a lot, and you know, everybody makes a contribution. Now, you'd have to be relatively well off, and in a very well off street, for everybody to chip in £200 a month. Because if there was one house that didn't want to do it, I mean, what are they going to do? Turn a blind eye? So they do that because our own police can't do that anymore, because there aren't enough of them, or they haven't got the assets, or they haven't got the time, or they just can't be bothered. They're swamped. used to be that you would know the police person on your beat, and he would give you a clip round the ear for recycling on the pavement, that sort of thing. Mind, there you go. Not anymore, though. They also do... Now, you'd expect them to do that kind of thing. I mean, that's the sort of preserve of security firms. But they also undertake murder investigations, which I think should alarm everybody. Just the notion that the police have given up on murder now. I mean, I understood that they had given up on shoplifting, and they won't come over your way if you've been burgled, but murder, I thought that was their chief responsibility. This company, this private police company, will also help in cases of rape, missing persons, burglary, theft, stalking, and blackmail, which sounds about everything. Everything up to but not including saying, hello, 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 what's all this then? That's extra. The co-founder, called Tony Nash, who's an ex-Metropolitan Police commander, says this is going back to Dixon of Dock Green to a degree. It's what people want. Correct. But it's not what people get. Whatever you want, you can't have it. That's the new Britain. He said there's no substitute for going out and knocking on doors, but with the current state of finances, police are solving cases behind their desks, and that has become the culture. Or, more accurately, they're not solving cases. They're just giving you a police crime number with which to alert your insurance company. So some very important messages have just come in. This one says, it's from Yvonne. She says, the oligarchs didn't get where they are by being nice. The oligarch chasers may end up being poked with an umbrella on Waterloo Bridge. Yeah, or eaten a glow-in-the-dark nuclear sushi at a top London hotel. Frank says, I'm a gambler. Trust me, 11 to 10 simply means you put £11 on to win 10. But if you win, you also get your £11 back. £21 in total. What do you mean, if? If you win? What does that mean? I was cured from ever gambling. Fortunately, the very first time I gambled, I was on, I think I've mentioned this before, I was on a boat going to Holland, I think. And I was about 40... Well, when did... I Feel Love. I Feel Love by Donna Summer. What year was that out? 76? 5? 7? Something like that. Whatever year that was, I think when it came out, I was on a boat. So I must have been 16, 15, 16, something like that. And they had, my parents, unaccountably, left me to my own devices. Abandoned me. And they had a roulette table on this boat. And I went up with a pound, and I put it on red. And it came up black. And they took my pound away. I couldn't believe it. It was as though it was happening in slow motion. They just took it away. And wanted to say, no, hang on. Wait a minute, what's just happened here? So that was it. I was cured for life of ever gambling. Not remotely interested. John says Trump should be the new Bond, Jacob Rees-Mogg as M, and Bozo of the FO as a Q. No. No, and no, in that order. I think Rees-Mogg should be Bond, Bozo of the FO should maybe be Q, and Trump should be, I don't know, locked in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean. I'll have to find some use for him. Target practice, perhaps. Pat says the Night Manager was dire, so is McMafia, ditto Hard Sun, and the latest, Requiem, isn't looking too good either, bar to all of them. Line of Duty, however, was excellent, as are your TV reviews. Yeah, I'm the new AA Gill. I thought that was a game, Line of Duty. Isn't that a game that children play? I think it's a children's game. Yeah. Stop playing children's games and take your faces out your phones, kids. You're wasting your lives. But anyway, let's not get backtracked on that again. So I'm just curious, you know, we haven't got any money for the NHS, and we haven't got any money for the councils, and etc. and so on. What exactly is the point of being the fifth largest economy on earth if we can't actually, you know, afford anything? I mean, where exactly is all the money we make going? Because it isn't going on the councils, and it isn't going on home care, and it's not going on road maintenance, and it's not going on hospitals or GPs or the police, or anything that actually matters to the vast majority of the people that pay taxes in this country. Is it possible that when you set yourself up, as we have, as a country that does international finance for a living, and we put all our eggs in the finance racket, that the vast amount of money that generates doesn't actually stay here and flow through the system like it would in Germany, for instance, a place that makes things? The money we make in finance, our dominant industry, is spirited away to a magic place where the taxman can't find it. It's what we do for a living. I mean, it would be surprising if it didn't disappear, because that is the service that we offer for the international criminal super rich and the corporations that use us to avoid taxes. All those taxes should be paying for the police and the health service and the roads and on, but it's just not there. It must be like living in Panama. There's fantastic wealth pouring in, but us poor dopes who live here can't get anywhere near it. I mean, you remember the Panama Papers, that leak, which followed the previous leak about financial shenanigans, and the one before that, and the one before that, and none of it made the blindest bit of difference, apart from making us angry, briefly, before some other amusement came along. Well, when the Panama Papers leaked out, the organisation Transparency International said tens of billions of pounds of corrupt money are being laundered through the UK each year. Billions and billions and billions of pounds. And the campaign group said that this was done with the help of an ecosystem of professional enablers who faced inadequate punishment if they're found to be involved in wrongdoing. I mean, doesn't that sound like the banks in the City of London? Inadequate punishment if they're found to be involved in wrongdoing. And it's not just the banks, it's the estate agents who will take dodgy money to launder cash. And it's the lawyers and the accountants and all the rest of those are people in shiny buildings over there. But just on the banks, I mean, they've got a charge sheet that would shame Rat Boy. And yet they get off scot-free. The worst case scenario is that they would have to pay back some of the money they swindled. And the same's happening in the London property market. Those towers ruining the skyline of executive flatlets at millions of pounds each aren't built for people to live in. Of course they're not. I mean, have you seen them? I've actually seen them. I've been there. When I was searching around, this was about 10 years ago, when I imagined that they were not quite as tiny as they're building them now, and they were embarrassingly bad. All of those hideous buildings that crowd the Thames, up and down the Thames, from Kew Gardens all the way through the city until Greenwich. They're all the same. Charmless blocks of executive flatlets, not built for anyone to live in. That's the London property market. Towers ruining the skyline of tiny flats at millions of pounds each, built for people to not live in but launder their cash in, built as a safe asset for dodgy money. And this organisation, Transparency International, they found that in 2015 alone, 36,342 London properties, covering a total of 2.25 square miles of the capital, were owned by offshore companies whose source of wealth was unknown or hard to verify. And that's what our security services are going to be focusing on now. Impossible. It's like I said, that money has been hidden by the best minds in the business. British minds. That's what we do. Almost 1 in 10 properties in the borough of Westminster are owned by offshore companies. 1 in 10. £180 million worth of UK property was bought under criminal investigation as the suspected proceeds of corruption. Not even the mafia is that bent.
Absolutely.
And unless I'm getting this wrong, that is the reason that we are supposedly so rich, but we can't actually afford anything. Because the wealth we create isn't reaching us. There is no trickle-down effect. There is no showering of cash from above all over our upturned expectant faces. And so we've cancelled operations on the NHS, and there is no home care, and there is no police, apparently, which is where this private police force comes in. And it's actually it's worse than all that. But I'll get to that in a minute. Let's have Kilmarnock. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
Mary.
Hi. I've just absolutely gobsmacked about this MP wanting to bring this rule in. It's all very well bringing rules in, but how are we going to police it? We have an instance up here, it was in the national press, that the proceeds of crimes for last year, the outstanding assets that were requested to be snatched back was standing over at £6.5 million.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's all very well putting these orders on, but they just don't seem to bother getting the money.
Well, I get the feeling that the government is, not necessarily just this government, all governments, in my experience, are run on the basis of I'm gonna.
Yeah.
If they say that they're gonna do something, then the public relaxes as though the job is done. Job's a good one. But all they have to do, a government, is say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I mean, Tony Blair was the absolute epitome of this. And just saying that you're going to do it obviates the need to actually do something.
That's right. And then it goes to the next stage, because when this was first mooted up here...
Mooted?
Yes, the question was asked, where is the money going to?
Yes.
And they were told that the top thing was to put it to youth organisations, or to have youth work, to get the kids off the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was they set up a group called Youth Link. However, clubs, tennis clubs and the like can't apply for it because they're not a youth organisation.
Right.
Now, I queried it with the then Justice Minister that this was happening, and she told me quite categorically that was not, it was for all clubs to be able to apply for. So
but they got to get the money in the first place, haven't
well,
they?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, they make one law and they say, oh, this is, they're all the good folk, they're going to hit these criminals, and then when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, the money is not used for the purpose that it's been promised for.
Yeah, or more likely, they just don't get the money in the first place.
Exactly.
Another thing they seem to do is say that, it's very sad about the German auto manufacturers, for instance, who've been poisoning us illegally and nefariously with their highly polluting vehicles. And our government's position is, there's absolutely nothing we can do about that because there are no rules, there are no laws that prevent them from doing that. Americans, on the other hand, are finding them billions and billions and billions of pounds and putting them in a corner and thrashing them to sleep and maintaining that they sit there and think about what they've done. And we're saying, there's nothing we can do. Let's enact another law so that we'll prevent it from happening in the future. And that seems to be the case over and over in this country. Things that are obviously illegal, the government will say, if only we'd known they were going to do that. Let's enact another law that will prevent the past crime from happening again.
Yeah, and I just think sometimes, Nick, that all these things that they bring out that's obviously going to cause controversy, is it something to hide that there's something far wrong happening within government?
Oh, distraction techniques, eh?
Yes.
Okay, well, keep your eyes peeled, Mary. So, let's have this call in Enfield, beautiful downtown Enfield. Hello, John.
Oh, hello, Nick. What I'd like to introduce to bring your attention also, where the rich hide their money, which has been discussed very in detail at Davos,
Davos.
Is the crypto coin.
The crypto coin. Bitcoin.
Yeah,
You
well,
mean Bitcoin? Well, that's one of them,
Well,
isn't
you
it?
can call it. That's just one of them. There's
Yeah.
a whole load of different ones. Companies are actually bringing out their own Bitcoin. Well, not, but they call it a crypto coin.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a safe bet. Where do I sign
not
up?
really, no, because that's being part of the thing that's being sucked up, because the original amount of money that was put in, the miners they call it, was for £21 million.
You might as well just chuck that money down a mine, John.
Oh, no, the thing is, they're trying to, it's a place for them, for the very rich to hide their money, and I suspect the bank are already in it themselves.
You'd have to be off your chump to hide all your money in bitcoins.
Oh, but they're not doing that. They're using it. They're hoping that the little people, or for lower down, will come in and start buy bitcoins, and then they're sucking it all up.
Like a pyramid scheme, you mean?
Exactly.
I think that I know that I read just the other day that somebody said that somebody had probably an expert, so nobody's remotely interested in anything they have to say. But they said that bitcoins was probably the biggest pyramid scheme in history.
That is quite true,
not
but
necessarily
it
including the actual pyramids.
It could become a factual thing, of course, because of the actual blockchain arrangements that they've got. They're trying to investigate a way to use the blockchain. It is quite effective now.
What's a blockchain? He asked.
Well, this is to ensure
expecting
a
no
group
answer.
of people, shall we say rich people, get together and they decide that they're going to transfer their money through the crypto coin system that they establish themselves. And it's probably that the bank have already done that. They're already in the scam.
I knew I'd be regretful for asking you that question. That explanation made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Well, you consider what's refer to the background to it, and you'll discover that this is what's happening.
Struth, you're giving me homework now. I hate homework.
I can understand that, but the thing is, this is the way of sidestepping the Panama, offshore thing. They're using this crypto.
Sidestepping the Panama. Is that doing the Macarena, or is that something else? Yeah, Bitcoin. I mean, what can you spend Bitcoin money on? Bitcoin currency on? What can you actually buy with it, apart from drugs and hitmen?
Yeah,
Want to score some pot?
They'll actually buy the Bitcoin at a big discount and so on.
Oh,
the way you're shuffling money around.
Sign me up. Okay, well, thanks for the bad news. Yeah, there's another £1 billion idea I didn't have. If you got in early, but isn't that the case with absolutely everything? If only you'd got in early. Now, though, forget about it. What can you buy with bitcoins? I mean, apart from hiring people to kill your enemies. I mean, if you were a Bitcoin billionaire, can you imagine how many people you'd have to kill just to get your money's worth? Let's make a list. Mark says, I just had a thought. We must be brave to go after these Russian oligarchs after seeing what damage they could do with a caviar knife in the first episode of McMafia. Well, I saw the first episode of McMafia, but I don't remember that part. And I hope that it was a bone. I don't know anything about anything, but I do know, but only because I just read it the other day, that you are only supposed to serve caviar on a bone, not a metal knife, because that would be
disgusting.
Yeah, it has to be a bone knife. You have to kill an elephant before you can eat fish eggs. Can you believe that? Keith says the next Bond will be Mog. He'll sort out these Europeans who will die of laughter. He does seem to be the most risible person that I can ever recall. I mean, previously I thought that Boris Johnson was the most cartoon comedy toff, but Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's taken it to another level. Is he real, or am I hallucinating? This says, what about Trump as Moneypenny? That is fake news. Did you see Melania? Boy, she's gone beyond slapping his hand away.
I cherish women.
Yeah, she don't cherish you. That's why Donald Trump has a lock on his bedroom door. It's a lock on the outside to make sure that, he doesn't escape.
I will be so great
to women. I cherish women.
It's probably because Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Donald Trump is a very nice person.
Once again, I stand corrected. Oh, she stormed off that plane and straight into the car. She left him waving on the tarmac. I think, not just in terms of their marriage, but just generally over there, that kaleidoscopic clown show that's going on in the White House, I think things have got completely out of control.
It has gotten totally out of control.
Yeah. And as for that Nunes missive, that thing that's supposed to bring down the Russian investigation, oh, Donny, if that's your hope, then you might as well put your hands out and we'll slap the cuffs on now. You are so guilty. You are going down. We're going to build a big, beautiful wall around you. The stuff that's going on. All last year, and it's continuing now. It's just a constant multiple newsgasm. I'm exhausted, aren't you? The news is just coming too quick. And the Robert Mueller investigation into Donald Trump's nefarious activities, oh boy, I cannot wait. And that man, I mean, if you've seen a picture of that man, the Robert Mueller fella, who is investigating the shady shenanigans that Trump and his oily acolytes have gotten up to. Oh, he's not going to be swayed. Donald Trump is actually going to have to be spending bitcoins to take that man out. Huge money. Paul says it's Call of Duty. What is? Oh, Line of Fire. Well, Line of Fire sounds like a game as well. Is that a television program? Oh, it's another British television program that I won't watch. I don't know, we don't seem to be that good at making television programs anymore. Have you noticed? Or is it just me? We used to be good. In fact, we used to, just as we used to say that the NHS was the envy of the world. We used to say that British television was the envy of the world, but it ain't the envy of the world no more. No, I don't think the rest of the world's remotely interested in what we produce on television. Everybody's watching American, even the British shows that feature British actors, even they're American. I mean, you can't tell me that Game of Thrones is a British program. Can you believe that we're going to have to wait a year before the concluding series of the Game of Thrones? They're going to make us wait a year. I hate them. Anyway, that's not why you called. So I'll come back and I'll give you the rest of this excruciating story about the fact that our police have given up, basically, for lack of money, just as the health service has given up for a lack of money. And it does make you wonder where all the money goes. How can we be so rich and yet so poor? Is it because of what we've chosen to do for a living? It's just that a natural consequence of being the provider of services for people to hide their ill-gotten gains. Just a thought. That fellow on the news who's trying to put a gloss on the police wanting members of the public to drive them around. I could be amused, but I've decided to be appalled. I mean, good grief. Police chiefs admit, over and above that they don't have the money to investigate high-volume crimes, such as shoplifting. And they won't come out if you've been burgled or your car's been broken into or anything like that. So forget about it. Metropolitan Police Federation Chairman Ken described the rise of private detectives as a staggering indictment of state policing. Correctamundo, Ken. I'd say it's a staggering indictment of what we as a country do for a living. I think it's connected with what I was talking about before. I mean, make no mistake, the finance racket contributes a bunch of change to the economy. £176 billion. That's about 10%. But how much drains out because of what they do? It's impossible to know, because they do secrecy and opaqueness for a living. But Germany's health service isn't in such a state. And there doesn't appear to be a need for a private police force in France. And that might just be because the services sector is 80% of our economy. And manufacturing is just barely 19%. In Germany, on the other hand, manufacturing represents 30% of their economy. And they're not remotely as dependent on the banking racket as we are. Last week, official police figures revealed that the largest recorded annual increase in crime for more than a decade was recorded. To use the same word twice in the same sentence. We've got surging levels of violence and sex attacks and knife and gun offences all across the country. Now, might that possibly be because the criminals now know that the police won't show up? What was not recorded in the figures, apparently, is the number of criminals being locked up through the work of private investigators. I mean, people are all obsessed and upset about the concept of a privatised NHS, but practically every other country on earth, apart from us, has some element of privatisation with the insurance, mostly with the insurance element of the health service that they've got. And practically every one of our main competitor countries has a better health service than we do. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But a private police force? Well, I've got warning signs flashing in my mind.
Warning! Warning!
A private police force. RoboCop. In the past 6 months, this private police force, TMI, which I was talking about earlier on, their 60 investigators have caught suspects wanted by police for everything up to and including murder and rape. How can the police not have done it with all of the assets that are supposedly at their disposal, and some private organisation have managed to pip them to the post? And now, like I said before, they've launched a subscription service called My Local Bobby, because your actual local Bobby has been retired, taken off the beat, put in a car, or more accurately, behind a desk. He may or may not be on the end of the phone, depending on what time it is that you are, in need. My Local Bobby has its staff patrol some of London's most expensive streets, Belgravia, Mayfair, Kensington and the like, where coincidentally a lot of that dodgy Russian oligarch money is secreted. Individual uniform bobbies cover up to 250 houses whose owners each pay a fee of £100 or £200 a month. And in return, clients get a meet and greet service from their car or the tube, so nobody nicks their Rolex on the way to their front door. And they have a hotline to a bobby whose location they can track on their iPad, as long as somebody hasn't stolen it. If there's a crime, the firm promises to have a local response officer on the scene within 5 minutes, which is what we should all expect. But apparently now, in this country, we can't afford it. If you can afford it, then that's great. Congratulations. You win. Meanwhile, like Zora Sullivan said on the news, a police force is recruiting unpaid volunteers to drive officers around. This is pathetic. The 5th largest economy on earth. How many times are we going to hear that over and over and over again? It doesn't seem to make the blindest bit of difference to the people who actually, live here. Avon and Somerset Police Force aims to relieve pressures on frontline officers while it makes cuts of £17 million in the face of a crime rate that is going through the roof. It's looking for driver support personages who will work one 10-hour shift a week. 10 hours? What? It's a no from me. 10 hours. They'll be at the wheel of an unmarked police car for tasks such as taking officers and evidence to court or to locations where they are carrying out inquiries. The donut shop, coffee shop, that sort of thing. The job description reads, we're looking for an enthusiastic and motivated team who can relieve some of the demand and pressures on our frontline officers. You have to be totally familiar with the highway code, apparently. So it's manoeuvre, signal, horn. Always remember that. But it's worse than that. Because an initiative to investigate crimes over the phone has been introduced in Stoke-on-Trent. Chief Constable Gareth claimed that this call centre would be a quicker and more efficient way to look into burglaries, thefts and antisocial behaviours. Quicker and more efficient way. To look into them, you mean to hear about them, you mean? That force must save £6.4 million over the next 3 years. Because apparently we haven't got the money for, the police, or the health service, or the roads, or anything. Victims of criminal damage and fraud and public order offences will no longer be visited by the police, but they'll have to call this telephone service in Stoke-on-Trent instead, for maximum satisfaction. The system is operating in North Staffordshire and is expected to, and here comes the bad news, is expected to cover the rest of the country by the summer.
Oh no!
It's coming to a destination, to a crime scene near you. What is not coming to a crime scene near you is police person. And the police said, thank goodness, 1,400 cases had been resolved since December. Now, that's a pretty specific word in that sentence. Resolved. Not solved, resolved. Whatever that means. As in noted down in a book, I would imagine. Similar schemes already operate in Sussex and Hampshire. What on earth is going on? Please, somebody explain it to me. Jim says, if we will, in future, have to pay for private pensions, education, health, waste collection, policing, prisons, etc., etc., does this mean we will no longer have to pay any tax? I do hope so. Otherwise, we will be paying for everything twice.
Correct.
Exactly. I do think that if you have a tiny bit of money, just a little bit extra, I know that sounds unlikely, but just a little bit extra at the end of the month, then never mind about insuring your sofa in your house, insure your health. And the government should give you a discount on that. There should be tax deductible. Because, like I've said, and I'll say it again and again, we haven't got a full-service health service anymore. We have an emergency service, at best. Martin said, recorded crime is down. Yes, because you can't report it anymore. I rang 101, and it took 14 minutes to answer the phone. And even then, I couldn't speak to a policeman. Holy moly. 14 minutes? What happened when you actually got there?
What number are you calling from?
Yeah. Thank you for your cooperation. Camden, hello, Mohammed.
Good evening, Nick. How are you, mate?
Great, mate.
The reason why I called is to tell you that, unfortunately, you're scarily accurate. I work in corporate finance within the legal division.
Oh, my God. You work in corporate finance, that's bad, but in the legal division? No!
I protect the bankers.
Right.
So where you're scarily accurate, and I'll give you some background. I've been in corporate finance now for several years. Prior to that, I was in corporate law and in consulting.
Guilty.
But here's the thing, for years I've said this openly, publicly, that it makes me upset and very angry that we've become so London-centric in the UK. And hear me out. When I think of countries like Germany, where I lived and worked, the moment I think of Germany, I think of Munich, Stuttgart, Frankfurt. All these places are industrial. They make money. They've diversified their economy. Now, if you go to any country, my parents' country in Asia, and you say to them, oh, where are you from? Say you're from Birmingham. They'll say, sorry, did you say London? Say you're from Newcastle, and you said to them, I'm from Newcastle. They'll say, no, did you say London? My point is, internationally, globally, London is a powerhouse. That's true. But that's also a weakness. This government and many governments prior, they haven't invested in many parts of the UK. And the problem with that is when you don't diversify an economy, you're not making people make money for the country. And you can't fully blame it on government because, excuse me for being candid, I also think people need to diversify their skill set. A lot of reasons. A lot of people tend to say British Asians do very well in the job market in the UK. That's because when our parents came to this country as poor people, we looked at the middle class English, and behind closed doors we said, this is my generation of young Asian lads. We all said, we want what they've got, we want their wealth, we want their money, and the way to do that is to choose certain professions that will open and give us access to those professions. Similarly, on the flip side, what we say is that a lot of working class English or underclass English, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, a lot of them were upset and angry what Thatcher did in the era of, the cutting of manufacturing. But then you can't moan about it for the next 30 years.
Yeah, well, you can actually. They've been doing that very successfully, yeah.
Yeah, and what we've been saying behind closed doors, again, with respect, is the same thing with working class white Americans. The world is going to solar energy, and Trump wants to bring back coal.
Yeah, mining, exactly.
And you've made these points, and it's sad and scary that you're right about it. I don't think you realise, I know you say it with seriousness and with intellectual rigor, but you're right, and it's a big problem. And
I'm just going to have to defend myself from the charge of intellectual rigor.
I mean, if you really think about it, where does that lead us as a country? I want the country to be strong, and you're right. I'm interested in my bonus. I do care about this country a lot, though. I was born and raised here. It's given me so much, and I do think that it's the middle-class English that's keeping this country alive. And when Brexit happened, my concern is that the people that voted Brexit, who think it's going to change, again, unfortunately, you were right here as well. They think it's going to make a difference, and it's not.
Yeah, they think that they've won the lottery and things will go back to how they used to be. But those times are
did you watch Question
over.
Time?
No.
Did you watch Question Time the other night? The Brexit man was so angry. He was screaming and shouting.
I would imagine so. Anger is their default mode.
It was just cringeworthy, and I was thinking, mate, you're such an embarrassment. I don't want to be associated with you. And all he kept saying was, Brexit means Brexit. And I'm just thinking, these are just words. Nick, we're linked to the global economy. When you leave something like the EU, it impacts trade, it impacts security, it impacts culture.
Of course it does.
It impacts immigration.
See, what people don't, I find it hard. Either I'm missing people saying this, or no one is actually saying it, that trade is not something that a government organises.
Exactly.
Trade is what companies do with the product that they make. So if you sell, I don't know, shirts to Germany. I mean, we still do make shirts, right? When we were famous for making, I imagine we'd still make shirts.
You mean the shirts we import from India and then sell on?
Oh, okay, all right. Handmade shoes, then. If you make shoes and you import them to Germany, and they come in at a competitive price compared to the shoes that Germans make, because we're tax free. Then everything is tickety-boo, and the Germans are just there. You get on a plane, and in an hour you're there, and everybody in Germany shares the same sort of working environment that we do, and we have this like a shared culture. And but then you leave the EU, and suddenly the tax on the shoes goes through the roof to make them considerably more expensive than homegrown German shoes, and Germans will say, well, maybe I'm not that interested in spending the extra just to do my British friends a favour. And so what you're going to have to do as a company now is to go to somewhere else. Now,
indeed,
Theresa May going to sign a trade deal with well, she didn't. She had some vague promises of some future investment that may or may not happen. That's what she came back with. That £9 billion figure is she just made it up and pulled it out of the air. It doesn't exist. She didn't sign anything. But if she comes back even with a solid trade deal, that doesn't mean to say that you as a manufacturer of shoes instantly can go to China and sell your stuff. You've got to get on a plane and you've got to go to China and you've got to persuade Chinese shops to take your goods. And how difficult and expensive and how much of a headache is that going to be for every organisation and company in this country?
Absolutely. And may I make one last point, Nick, which is, one of the things that made Britain truly great, right? And I genuinely am saying this, and a lot of Europeans, people around the globe used to say this, and it's about the English, right? There was a class about the English. May is acting without no class. she's bowing her head to all these
Well,
countries.
that's our government. I mean, Leanne Fox actually stood next to that mass-murdering dictator in the Philippines, Duterte, and said, we have shared values, which has to be a low point in the history of this country.
Yeah. And I bought your book.
You did?
Yes, I bought your book, and I cannot wait to start reading it.
Okay,
I'm so sorry. I know that the Kindle would have given you more profit.
It would, yeah. All right, well, thanks very much, Mohammed. I appreciate it. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I got a book out. What's it called? Oh, thanks for asking. It's called My Tremendous Year in the Huge Shadow of Donald Trump's Awesome Orange Bigliness.
You are going to love President Trump.
That is the actual title that I managed to squeeze onto the front page of that book. It's bright orange, and it's available at an Amazon near you. But what's weird is the Kindle version, the electronic version, is like there's $2.99. It's the price of a cup of coffee. But the paperback is over double that price, and yet I make almost nothing at all on the paperback because of the cost of someone's got to go out and chop down a tree. But oddly, I'm selling more paperbacks than I am at twice the price than I am at e-books at half the price. I thought that e-books were a thing, but I guess that's that's just I'm not hip and with it. Hello, Billy.
Hello, good evening, Nick. I'm glad you said beautiful Isle of Wight. It is a lovely place.
I'm sure.
I just wanted to pick up on the story that I heard you speaking about with regards to 101 and the call centre and that bloke who said that he couldn't get hold of anyone.
Yeah. Now 101, in case you, is that the police line or is that the health line?
I think it is the police line. I think 111 is the National Health Service one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that? Because I wouldn't want to give out any misinformation. Apparently we are, yeah. My glamorous assistant's giving me the thumbs up.
Oh, good. Yes, no, 111 I think is the, I think they do other things as well, don't they, 111, like Coast Guard service as well. But,
do they?
Yeah, but
111 is better than 999 because 999 was what they brought in when. See, kids won't understand this; they have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But there used to be a thing called a landline, kids, and a phone used to be attached to it. And used to sit in the hall on a specific piece of furniture for that very purpose. You could sit on one end and you place the phone on the other. You remember that, don't you, Billy? You probably still got it in the Isle of Wight. And 999 was the second longest number it took to dial. You'd be dead by the time you dialed 999 in an emergency. Why did it have to be almost the longest number they could think of? Not 111. That would be easy. A piece of cake on a rotary dial telephone to dial 111. 999. It took forever to dial that number.
Yeah, it's funny you say, as you say, the old phone. As you say, you would have had to have gone round. I mean, I'm not sort of old enough to actually have one of those ones, but nevertheless, I still remember them. And those retro phones, as you say, you had to go round, and then you had to wait for it to turn back.
About 3 weeks it takes you to dial 999 on an old rotary phone. I mean, you might as well just send out a letter. Help! I'm being strangled.
Or what happened to the old police boxes? I think they were probably more effective, weren't they? I mean, at least you had a guaranteed chance of actually getting through to someone, but now it's just ridiculous. You're always on hold, and I was saying to your glamorous assistant just a minute ago that when I called up the local council over here, it took me about 25 minutes to get through to someone. And I can.
You mean the phone actually rang for 25 minutes before somebody picked the phone up?
Well, what it does, and I'm sure you'd be able to relate to this, Nick, is it says they say to you, just in case you would like to go online and you're shouting on the phone, I don't want to go online.
No, exactly. Yeah? That's why I'm calling you in the first place. Stupid. Of course I don't want to go online. If I wanted to go online, I'd be online.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense, and
then they play you some pleasant music to while away the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's normally classical music, isn't it? And that just makes you more angry,
Greensleeves.
Doesn't it? I did want to share as well with you, Nick, a tip because
there's one financial organisation, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, that plays Ed Bloomin' Sheeran.
Oh no!
Oh.
God. I can't think of anything more boring. He's just he needs to have a shave, didn't he, and an haircut. That one.
Ed Sheeran, you have delighted us enough. Next.
Yes. No, it's brilliant. I mean, that gets on my nerves as well. Those awful intro songs or whatever, and particularly when they're just screaming down the ear. I mean, I'm surprised I've even got my eardrums left, actually.
Which one are you talking about now?
Well, there's this one that I've called before, and it goes da 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 da, and it goes really, it gets faster and faster and faster. And this was like an independent company.
Right, are you sure you haven't dialed a Greek wedding?
I didn't hear any plate smashing in the background.
Right, okay.
I don't think so.
Well, that would be a sign. Yeah.
But no, this tip I was gonna tell you, Nick.
Well, the Isle of Wight is so small. I mean, you could walk round to the council in the time it took you to get them on the phone.
Yeah.
Couldn't you?
Yeah, it is only 14 miles long.
Yeah, exactly.
26 miles up, and
Yeah.
I think 14 across.
Anyway, what was your problem? Is there anything I can help with?
Well, no, it was just more.
Oh, then my work is done.
If ever you're on the phone, Nick,
Yeah.
to a business, I mean, it won't work with the Isle of Wight Council because I don't sell anything, but or London Council. But if ever you're on the phone and you want to get through to customer service and you get the automated voice come up, just say you want to speak to the sales department. It's amazing how quickly they pick it up.
Straight away, yeah. I'd like to give you some money, please. Who do I speak to? That's good advice. All right, thanks a lot, Billy. I've got to go. But
Thank you for holding.
here's Upminster. Keith.
Thank you. Hello, Nick.
Keith.
Happy New Year. It's not too late to say that, is it? 'Cause
Yes.
I spoke to you. Oh. Well, the first time I spoke to you this year.
Oh, well, haven't I been lucky? so far, this year's been great.
Okay. Would you like to know the real reason, allegedly, why 999 was chosen instead of 111 back in the 1920s or whenever it was they first...
Well, you're not giving me much confidence in your explanation by saying
I
the
heard this on the
real
radio.
reason, allegedly. What does that mean?
I heard this on a radio programme last year sometime.
Ah,
It was
yes.
actually like the 70th anniversary or some anniversary of when it was
Okay.
first introduced.
Go ahead. Lay it on me, baby.
Okay, this is how it supposedly works, that a lot of telephone wires could rattle against each other, and they reckon that there's a possibility of accidentally generating 111 or 222. So that's why they went to 999, because I thought it was almost impossible for there to be a accidental dialing of 999 by the poles rattling against each other or something like that.
Oh, well, that makes sense, allegedly.
Yeah. But 112 is the European, I think it's worldwide now on mobile phones. 112 is the equivalent of 999.
I thought it was 911.
That's the USA. European one is...
But isn't the USA one, because everybody knows the USA one because of the predominance of American media, you know, the films and the TV programs that we all enjoy, everybody calls 911. So in an emergency, if you were, if you'd lost your mind in a panic, you might be stabbing 911 in your phone, and it would be disappointing if it came up with, the weather.
That's a good point. But 112 will definitely work on... all mobile network, I think certainly all mobiles, as far as I know. 112 will give you emergency services.
Right.
111 is definitely the NHS, and 101 is the police non-emergency one. Now, the strange thing about...
See, now that's too many numbers. I can't remember all of that. I can remember 999. And I can remember being on. I was driving along the Hammersmith, the flyover. You know, it's a bit in the
Near
west end of
Grenfell Tower?
London. Huh?
Not the one near Grenfell Tower. The tower. That's the west way, isn't it?
Yeah, no, the Hammersmith, the flyover, just to the north of Shepherd's Bush there.
Oh, yeah,
This was a while ago, and there was a lorry that had shed its load of rolled-up carpet all over the road. And I thought, wow, how luxurious is that? They're carpeting the flyover.
Oh, okay.
Or this is a major danger to traffic. I mean, I was swerving about, but people coming behind me, they didn't know it was going to be there. So I reached for my phone, and I know that this is, I know I shouldn't have done this, but while I was moving along, I called the police, because you can't stop on the flyover, right? So I thought I'll do my civic duty, and I'll call the police. But I couldn't remember the number for the police that's not 999. I had no idea. So there's too many numbers.
Yeah. But on a lot of mobile networks, they charge you for 101, but they don't charge you for one. If you've got like an inclusive call plan, they don't include 101. They charge you that as 20p or 25p or something like that per minute. But 111 is actually an inclusive call, or that's on the mobile plan.
So which is 11? What's 111 again?
111 is the NHS non-emerg. 111 is the NHS. Dial for anything basically these days.
Right. So you got a Veruca, you got a Veruca, or you've lost your car keys. You dial 111. Say, "Oh, doctor, please help me," like that.
Or if you got the flu or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 101 is the police one. But it's in London area. You're better off dialing the old 2301.
Well, you're better off just forgetting about it, because there's nobody going to come. Just wave goodbye to your car or your sofa, your video recorder, or whatever it is that you've just lost. Just forget about it, because it's gone.
Well, if you dial 101, they actually say, if we've got a queue, you may be on this number for 20 minutes or so, but you might be quicker if you send us an email. And they actually say that on 101.
Or a letter, yeah.
Yeah.
You dial 111, and a robot at the end answers the phone and says, and then slams the phone down.
Okay, Nick, can you just let your Grandmaster assistant know, I don't know if you can do this or not, that I've actually changed my mobile data plan now, and I don't get free inclusive calls now, but I've got plenty left this month.
Okay, I'll pass that message on.
Thanks.
I've got no idea what that means. Oh, well, I know what it means, but I don't know why he was telling you that. But anyway, now she knows. Doesn't appear to be remotely interested. Me either. Paul says, this is about Bitcoin now. We were talking about that some moments ago. It says, places as small as coffee shops take Bitcoin. Well, really? They'll be sorry. What are they going to do with it? But what do they do with it? Because what can you buy with a Bitcoin? What does a coffee shop do with Bitcoins? Buy unrecyclable plastic-lined paper cups. That's not saving the planet. This says, on Microsoft's website, you can buy computer software and pay with Bitcoin. Chris says, Bitcoin is not perfect, but it will be the future. No, Chris, I don't think so. He says, and what will we not need when it is? And what will we not need when it is? That doesn't make it. Does that make any sense? Let's read on and let's see if it does make sense eventually. He says, Bitcoin is not perfect, but it will be the future. And what will we not need when it is? The banks. So don't listen to all the propaganda against it, he says. You can use Bitcoin on a Visa card if you like. Even with the possible bubble, poorer nations are avoiding massive costs of receiving money from overseas. That is what will make it really take off. I thought it had really taken off. I thought people who had the foresight and the money at the time to invest, a couple of pence in Bitcoin were now bazillionaires. There's another great idea I didn't have. A different Chris says, is your book available as a talking book for lazy or blind people? I'm glad you asked me that, Chris. No. But for a small fee, I will come round and read it for you while giving you a top secret executive massage. How does that sound? Here's a call in Oxford. Hello, Dean.
Hello, Nick.
Dean.
Fabulous programme, by the way.
Thanks.
I want to talk about the phones.
Yes.
Recently, I had a letter from the hospital saying urgently contact us after a scan I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I got onto the phone. 40 minutes later,
Oh.
I'm on. First of all, it starts off you're 29th in the queue, and so on and so on. So you sat there waiting. 40 minutes later, you're number 1 in the queue,
Oh.
and I think they all went off for dinner, you know. And then I eventually get through, and she says, "Oh, it's all right. We booked you an appointment."
Well, you didn't have to call, in other words.
I didn't have to call then. I thought it was urgent.
Oh, my
Oh
God.
yeah, the doctor wants to see you, but you'll get an appointment in the post in the next 2 weeks. Which was really fabulous, don't you
Yeah,
think?
so there's another day you won't get back.
Yeah, and just on the phones again. Wherever recently, I don't know why, but it's all this queuing, isn't it? You're
Chewing.
number 29th in the queue, you're
Oh,
number
that.
10 in the queue, and so on and so on. It's just a joke.
Well, it doesn't actually mean anything because you could get to number 1 in the queue and the person in front of you may be calling up to, I don't know, fill out a form to change their name or their
Yeah.
personality or their
Exactly.
hair colour, or it could be anything. They could be on that line for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Just a matter of reference.
Yeah.
The 911 you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether people realise, but if you did dial 911, they'd put you through to the emergency services in the UK.
In New York. Yeah, great.
And in the UK. It comes through to the UK.
Well, that's what I would have expected, yes, because people will automatically, because we're used to hearing 911 on the TV and in the cinema.
They get so many calls
Exactly.
that they put it straight through to the UK 999 service.
Yeah, it just defaults to
Yeah.
our own, and then you get put on
Does
hold.
work. Why
and-
not just have a universal number?
Well, yeah, wouldn't that make sense?
It would. Because where you go, you can use it, and they'll put you through.
But it sounds like they do have a universal number. Pretty much anything you dial, you will immediately get put through to the emergency service, who will put you on hold.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot, Dean.
Okay.
Ta-ra, 0345 6060 973. Chris, a cabbie, says, I picked up the guy who invented Just Eat the other day. What does that mean? He invented Just Eat. What does that mean? What's Just Eat? I'll ask my glamorous assistant. She's all over this. What is it?
It's like a takeaway online. Kind of, it's an app, so you can get. So when you're lazy,
Yeah.
you can get some takeaway brought to you on demand.
Oh, you can get takeaway without actually taking it away?
Precisely.
Somebody will take it away for
They will
you?
do the taking away. And
How about the eating? Will they do the eating for you?
No, that's all for you.
All right, okay. Anyway, he says, I picked up the guy who invented Just Eat the other day. Now, there's an idea I wish I'd had, says Chris the cabbie. He's a multi-time millionaire. What? That's what it says. He's a multi-time millionaire. As in the word million and then the word air after it. This bloke's got so much air you wouldn't believe it. And time, oh... It says he could have been a billionaire but passed on Airbnb. Anyway, he said Bitcoin is the future, so sign up now. I will not. What he told me as well was that I wasn't aware of there are about 50 types of Bitcoin. He spoke about it for about half an hour, and I'm more confused now than before I picked him up. Can anyone just explain it in layman's terms? No, Chris, but thanks for asking. It seems to be a giant Ponzi scheme. It's like a pyramid scheme. See, apart from anything else, nobody's got any idea what Bitcoin is, or where it comes from, or who invented it, or who's behind it, or where anything. Could be the Russians. It could be Ant and Dec. No one's got any idea. But if you did get in early, like any Ponzi scheme, then, by this time next week, you'll be a millionaire. I, like practically everybody else in the country, just doesn't have the spare cash to take a punt. But I wish I had done years and years ago, when it first came out. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine how much coffee and Microsoft software I'd be able to afford now. I'll be up to my eyeballs in it. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @lbc. I could buy some water and send it to Cape Town. Have you heard what's happening in Cape Town? Holy macaroni. I might come to that in a while if I get the time. There's also robot taxis. See, that cabbie is going to be very upset with what I'm about to tell him, because the future is coming and it's being driven by a robot.
Affirmative.
It's Islington. Hello, Steve.
Nick, I'm going to try and give you an idiot's guide to Bitcoin.
Thank goodness for you, Steve.
Well, I think I qualify for it, you see. The way it works is you get the computer mined numbers in the same way you would computer mine, or it's the same way as in which you would mine gold. That number equals the coin.
Right, see, already you've lost me. You mine gold, but with a shovel.
Yes, but this is computer generated. It's a random generated number.
Right. So you take your laptop and you dig a hole with it. I'm with you so far.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's supposed to be a complicated mathematical equation. That's what makes them so difficult to generate these puzzles or these numbers, which equal. That's what gives the coin its value. The fact that it's difficult, or it takes a lot of computing power to get this number sort of out the ground if you associate it with the mining analogy.
See, already that sounds dodgy to me, because whoever invented it presumably has the I don't know, the equation, or they've got it on their little screen there. They can just add whatever they like to it.
Well, everybody has the right to go online and try and solve this mathematical puzzle or whatever. But because you need so much power with which to do it, the amount. Well, put it like this: your data package would be huge. So this is.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. So you'd get through it like in a millisecond. You'd be out of data.
Yeah, right.
And
but never mind about that. I'll do it. I'll do mental arithmetic. I'm really good at that. What's the question?
I know, I've heard. So now, once you have this coin, you think, well, what's its value?
Yeah, zero.
Its value is attached to demand and supply. So the reason why you get these huge fluctuations is because all of a sudden, like over Christmas, loads of people wanted it because it was in the news.
Yeah.
And suddenly it went up thousands in a very short space of time.
Yes.
And then when everybody realised that they didn't actually have anything and or maybe wanted to sell it, they needed people to buy it. And if there and as with everything, if there aren't enough people to buy it, if there's not enough people to buy it, the value will go down. So again, you'll get this huge fluctuation.
I don't know. This sounds like the tulip bubble. It just sounds like a classic bubble to me. You get a bunch of dopes to. Well, first of all, somebody makes a ton of money really quickly, and then a lot of dopes think, "Oh, me too," and then they pile in, and the original person that was in there continues to make vast amounts of money, and everybody else loses everything they've got.
Well, it can work like that, but you are left with the coin as such.
But you're not, though. There is no coin. It doesn't exist, does it?
But there is. The coin is a number, so you're left with a number.
Yeah.
But it's like everything. You got to put your faith in it.
But how do you monetize it? Say I've got $1 billion pounds in bitcoins. How do I make that into actual money?
Well, you then have to try, just like you would say shares or gold. You then have to find someone who's willing to buy it.
Some other dope to buy it from me.
Yeah, but what makes it...
But they're going to give me actual money for it, are they?
No, well, it's just mainly it's just a transfer vehicle, you know.
Oh, they're going to give me a vehicle? Oh, great. Well, I'll have a Mercedes.
If you wanted to buy a nuclear missile, say, and you didn't have...
I would like a nuclear missile, yes.
And you didn't want anyone to know that it was actually you that was buying it.
No, I want everyone to know. No one would cut me up again. Flash your lights at me at your peril.
You'd put the money into your coin, and then the person at the other end would take the money out of the coin and then give you your missile.
Right. And
That's what makes what makes it so attractive.
in case anybody from the security services are listening to this, by the way, we're talking about the best way to buy a nuclear missile on the black market with untraceable bitcoins.
Well, that's what makes it attractive. Is I believe it used to be untraceable, but the guy who is well known for making an absolute fortune out of it is now in prison for money laundering.
Oh,
not
good.
as untraceable as it used to be.
Oh, great. So it comes with an unimpeachable pedigree.
Well, it used to, but it's questionable now.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, I believe, is the American government, because every time they confiscate it, they keep the coins. And I believe they use the coins, to get involved in a few dodgy dealings when they want to, put something in another country.
Dodgy dealings? The American government? That doesn't sound right.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit right, yeah. All right, well,
there you go.
Okay, well, that's really has explained it all to me. Yeah.
That's all clear.
All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers,
You're
Steve.
welcome.
I'm absolutely clear that I'm not going to be spending any money on that. That's for sure. I really have no idea. I'm none the wiser after that lengthy explanation than I was before. Never mind, eh? Here's a call in Hartford. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Just a quickie on the 999 thing. I've just jumped in my car about half an hour ago and I earwigged the back end of it, so I'm not too sure what the subject was. But the main reason we have 999 in this country goes back quite a few years, where if you actually dialed 99, you actually get put through to the emergency services without dialing the third digit or the third 9, so to speak. Now,
is that true?
I don't know how old you are, Nick, but years ago, if you worked for a company or a business or whatever, you had to dial 9 to get out of line.
Yeah.
You do remember that. So
Well, I think you still do, don't you? I mean, I don't really do office. I bet my glamorous assistant knows all about this.
We do have to dial the 9 for
Yeah, you dial 9 for an outside line. Mm-hmm.
It's still the case. It's still the case.
Yeah.
So the idea being is that if he was in a workplace or whatever, or he wasn't supposed to be there, or something happened or whatever, and you panicked, you pick up the phone, you dial 999. Ideally, the first 9 would get you an outside line, and the 99 would get you the emergency services.
Right.
We're not talking about burglary.
Well, I don't think that's right. I don't think you get 999 if you just dial 99.
If you dial 99, trust me, you get put through to the emergency services on a normal phone.
Oh, a normal phone? You have to have a normal phone?
Well, when I say a normal phone that's not...
That's very discriminatory to people who don't have normal phone. I mean, what's a normal phone when it's at home?
I'm talking about people that don't have to dial 9
yes.
to get an outside line.
Oh, those people.
Dial.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
the elite.
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat that for you? Or did you get it the first time?
More or less, yeah. Okay. Peaky Blinders is the best UK TV show in years and is hugely popular in America. What? That's nothing. It's hugely popular in America. There's no end of things that are hugely popular in America. It doesn't mean to say that's an indication of quality. Anyway, this says it's one of the best dramas of the last 10 years, British or American, hands down. Well, I have never seen it, but it doesn't prevent me from having a strong opinion, and I seriously doubt that that's the case. Alan says, In the Line of Fire... Oh, this is a conversation we were having ages ago. It was a Clint Eastwood film where he was the president's bodyguard. It was made in 1997, when we used to have a president that was worth guarding. He said the movie gets 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Which, coincidentally, is what we mostly eat. Well, food that is rotten. There was this thing that came out on... it was yesterday in The Guardian. About what we eat. Now, this is an indication as to why the health service is, one of the reasons why it's up to its eyeballs and it can't cope anymore. Half of all the food bought by families in the UK is now what they call ultra-processed. As in, it's something that your granny would not recognise as food. Made in a factory with industrial ingredients and additives invented by food technologists and bearing little resemblance to the fruit, vegetables, meat or fish used to cook a fresh meal at home. Ultra-processed, industrial ingredients and additives invented by food technologists. Doesn't that sound yummy?
No.
Research by global nutrition experts, so no one's remotely interested in what they have to say, being experts in possession of facts. They say that the scale of our food evolution from farm fresh to factory manufactured is, they revealed it. That's the end of that sentence. They have revealed it. Look, they say, there it is. Real food has been replaced by fake food. Fake food. Salty snacks, sugary cereals, industrially made bread and desserts, ready meals, reconstituted meats, alongside sweetened soft drinks. Wow, that sounds like breakfast, don't it? A study of 19 European countries is published this month in a special issue of the journal Public Health Nutrition. Worst journal ever. It shows that UK guess where we come on the list of countries that eat this rubbish. Just hazard a wild stab in the dark. Go ahead. Last? No. We are number one. Once again, on any list of negative attributes, we are right at the top. Of 19 European countries, UK families buy more ultra-processed food than anybody else in Europe. It's over half of what we eat. Germany comes second. We're over 50%. Germany's second on 46%, and Ireland on 45.9%. More than a quarter of food in the UK was unprocessed or minimally so. 10% was processed cooking ingredients such as vegetable oil. 10% was ordinarily processed such as cheese or cured meat. Ultra-processed food amounts to what we consume, this sort of industrial ingredients and additives invented by food technologists. That amounts to more than all of the other food groups combined. We eat more of that stuff than everything else combined. Isn't that terrible? There's absolutely no reason for it. There's no excuse for it. You go into a supermarket, every single supermarket in the land has the same layout. They're all the same. The thing that you see first when you come in, fruit and vegetables. Does anybody actually linger in that department?
No.
No. You go straight to the crisp aisle. Or should I say aisles? Because apart from, with the possible exception of pet food, crisps are the only thing in the supermarket that gets 2 aisles all to itself. Professor Carlos from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, who led the research team, told The Guardian of his deep concern about the links between ultra-processed food and obesity and poor health. Absolutely. He's concerned. He says ultra-processed foods may look attractive and are designed with sweet or salty tastes that make us want more. But there is nothing nutritious about them, he said. He says, take breakfast cereals. If you take Fruit Loops, for instance, it says more than 50% is sugar. 50%! What? 50% is sugar. And people put them in a bowl and then they put sugar on top of them. He says, but in Fruit Loops, there is no fruit. But they are loops, so there is that. No fruit. But it says fruit right there on the luminous coloured box. Look, F-R-O-O-T. That box is a liar. He says ultra-processed foods are essentially new creations of the food industry with very low-cost ingredients in a very attractive product. I've said this before. People in white coats who should be, they have the brains and the smarts to actually be saving the planet, but instead they're working for its ruination. They spend all day in labs conjuring up the perfect combination of fat, salt, and sugar to make it impossible for us to stop eating. To switch off that little message that goes off in your brain that says it's time to stop eating. They want to turn that off. We don't get that alarm anymore. That message that the brain sends to, or the stomach rather, sends to your brain that you've had too much to eat, or you are up to your eyeballs, you are sufficiently sated. And the result is that you can't squeeze your way down the high street because everyone is, well, you can't walk in double file down the high street. Entire families have to walk single file. These food made from cheap ingredients are produced on a huge scale, this professor said. You know what ultra-processed cheese is made of? Milk powder and additives. He says, he said, well, that's not cheese, is it? That's, I don't know, some sort of solid food-like product. He said some instant noodles aren't noodles. Well, what are they then? He says people are missing out not only on vitamins and minerals, but also bioactive compounds found in natural foods such as, oh god, here we go, phytoestrogens and fiber. Hey, you know what? I better got that right. Right first time. Phytoestrogens and fiber. And I've thought this all along because, you'll go to a so-called health food shop, and do you find it curious that everybody in a health food shop looks on the verge of death? I mean, if the stuff that they're selling is so healthy, how come everyone looks so ill in there? But they will sell you what will supposedly make up for your abysmal diet. Pills, vitamins in pill form. How can it possibly have the same beneficial effect in a pill that they've boiled down from chemicals as eating an actual real-life apple or a piece of broccoli or a sprout? And people are spending billions and billions and billions of pounds on that stuff instead of, lingering in the vegetable aisle and fingering a leek, for instance. And this professor says, and you get the salt and the starch and the sugar and the fat and all these additives, and we're consuming every day an amount of new substances that are these flavours and colours and emulsifiers. And we don't have any idea as to what will be the problem of these items, he says. Well, I've thought that too. One of the reasons, I reckon, not that I have any idea what I'm talking about, but these days if you say it out loud, it becomes a fact.
Correct.
It seems to me that the West is the people in the West are dying rapidly from cancer and all sorts of other unpleasant diseases, and people who are poorer than us aren't. And I think the difference between us, is many and various. You would think that we would not be subjected to these diseases, but there's two explanations as to why we are and the poorer people aren't. One of them is that we have a better health service. Just ignore the failings of the NHS for a minute, but we have a better health service, and it keeps people who would ordinarily have died alive to pass on those faulty cancerous genes to the next generation, and there's something to be said for that. But the flip side is, they don't eat the stuff that we eat. They don't eat luminous green cakes and crisps dusted in the powder that Donald Trump sticks on his face.
Oh, shut up!
They don't eat any of that stuff. That's us, that is. And while they might be able to test each individual ingredient for its cancerous and death-promoting properties, what they can't do is combine them all in the way that we are. It's like we're a giant science experiment. And the initial result is that, at the very least, you'd have to admit the initial result of this giant science experiment that we are conducting on ourselves is that we have all got a lot fatter. Yeah. I think, and I've said this many, many times, I think that the human race is actually being poisoned. It's being poisoned by the food conglomerates who are conjuring up ever more devious ways to prevent us from stopping eating. And then when we realise that we've eaten too much, we've gained 60 stone, then they're selling us ways in which we can lose that weight. What a racket, eh? Talk about a scheme. This professor says that regulations concerning the use of these additives and flavourings and substances and emulsifiers and colourings and all of the rest of this junk date mostly from the past century, and they were focused on whether or not they cause cancer. The cumulative effects of eating all of these industrially made substances together are not known. We've got no idea what we're doing to ourselves. We know what happens if you eat an apple or you have a carrot, but all these E numbers, we've got no idea, not a clue. He says, we are recommending people limit or avoid ultra-processed foods because they have a very low nutritional quality. But what if I like 'em? Says the British public. It's my right, I can do what I want, they say. He says, we're recommending people limit or avoid ultra-processed foods. Yeah, well, the best of luck with that, Professor. He said, biscuits and crisps and cola are designed to make us want more of them. He says it's beyond liking, we're entering a world of craving, as in we're addicted to it. And they are also universally available and cheap. Very, very cheap calories. That's what we got in the first world. Cheap calories with completely empty and void of nutrition. He says the key ingredients are refined flours, cheap oil, fats, sugar, starches, protein, isolates and salt. He says we're moving further and further away from food that nourishes us. We're addicted to them. I'm on about 4 packets of crisps a day now, man, but I can handle it. I'm just feeling a bit greasy at the moment, that's all. And for their part, I should say, full disclosure, the food conglomerates looked at this report and the work of this professor and said, oh no, it's not. Here's a call in Dulwich. Hello, Robert.
Hello, mate. I totally agree with you on this. A few years ago, I listened to a radio program on Radio 4, and it talked about how 50% of MPs in Parliament had, at some point in the previous year, received money from the Food and Beverage Authority, or I can't remember the exact name. But essentially, this is a lobbying group, and when you look at the stuff that the stuff you're describing, and we're like 19th in the table, did you say, in Europe?
No, first. We are number 1. We're the worst eaters in Europe. The worst.
Great. We're number 1 at something. That's fantastic.
Oh, no, we're number 1 at everything. We're number 1 teenage pregnancy with smoking dope and taking drugs and anything bad that you can think of. We are preeminent.
We're right there. Yeah. The thing is, what gets me is the government will tell you, will regulate every aspect of your life, yeah? They'll do everything. Everything is regulated by the government.
Yeah.
But when it comes to talking about a sugar tax or anything like that, then they sort of record and they say, oh, no.
Yeah, they clutch their pearls and go into a fainting fit just at the very idea, yeah.
Well, they tell us, we're not a nanny state and all the rest of it. And it's like, the whole point of leadership, then we have not got leaders in this country.
Yeah, precisely right. I think that the first duty of a government is to protect the health of its citizens, but virtually everything they do is the opposite of that. And then when it suits them, they will say, well, we can't legalise marijuana, for instance, because we're concerned of its effects on your health. They're not remotely interested in the effects of anything on our health.
Nick, one of the reasons, this bit you'll disagree with me on, one of the reasons I voted Leave was, have you heard of Investor Settlement Dispute Services, ISDS clauses, in the big contracts that...
yeah, this is one of the things that people who were concerned about TTIP were...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happens with these clauses is that these global companies can sue governments once the contract's signed, that is, but they can sue governments who try and then pass a law to for the betterment of the people of that country.
Well, I mean,
you've got this perversion in Australia where the government's been taken to court because it wanted to put photos of lung cancer on
cigarettes. Exactly.
Packets.
Yeah.
These global companies have got too much power.
But unfortunately, Robert, that is nothing to do with the EU. I think there's 600 or some cases that pertain to. It's a while since I read up on this, so my recollection is a bit hazy. But I do know that it's got nothing to do with TTIP, and it doesn't have anything to do with the EU either. Companies can sue governments, including our own, if they have entered into a contract in good faith.
Yeah.
And then have been disadvantaged by something that the government has done. And exiting the EU is not going to protect us from that. That's just international law.
No, that's right. But that when you have a centralisation of power, like you do in the EU, it becomes easier for those globalists to get those laws passed.
No, I'm not sure. I think it's the opposite, actually. Surely it's the opposite is the case, because they divide and conquer. This is one of the reasons why the media barons are so keen for us to exit the EU, is that they don't. It's much easier to pick on, essentially, the governments of individual countries rather than a conglomeration of an entire continent.
Well, you say that, but once a law gets passed in the EU, it's then applicable to 500 million people in one go. So if you're a global company and you want your product sold across Europe, you go and lobby in one place, as opposed to before you had to go around all the different governments and convince them. Now you just go to Brussels.
But saying that disregards the truth that you don't just go to Brussels, because Brussels is not some amorphous blob. It's made up of representatives of all of those countries.
No, but if they sign it, that's it. It becomes law for everyone.
Yeah, but they don't just make it. They don't just make it up and impose it on us. The laws are made by elected representatives, people from each individual country. I don't. Well, let's not get bogged down in that.
Yeah.
So I think that if that's one of the reasons why you voted out of the EU, then you're about to be sorely disappointed.
Listen, I'm a teacher, and I agree with you. I see the kids coming to school in the morning, and their breakfast might be a packet of, well, I'm not going to say a brand name, but a packet of crisps, and they're drinking some high energy drink, and then you're expected to teach them differential calculus. Yeah,
a high energy drink, they'll be bouncing off the walls.
Oh, exactly. And I just can't. We're just so sorely lacking in leadership. We really are. But 50% of MPs. So maybe you get paid to go and open the supermarket and cut the ribbon, and I don't know, maybe they give you 1,500 quid for that. I don't know how much you get for opening a supermarket, but it's just so telling, isn't it, that 50% of the people in the house have received money in the previous year.
Well, imagine, but that's just with the food business. Imagine how much the banking racket pours all over our elected representatives, or the oil industries, or the gas people, or the Russian oligarchs, and all the rest of it.
Mate, I will never get over. I worked in the city before I became a teacher. And when we bailed out the banks with the £375 billion, I couldn't believe that we'd done that. We could have done it in such a different way, but we got bounced into it. And our great grandchildren will still be paying off that debt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We found a magic money tree for that right now.
Oh yeah, and now look how quickly they did it. And the sum, I mean, people don't understand. In 1997, the total debt of the UK was just over £400 billion. It doubled in the next 13 years, and then it doubled in the next 7 years.
Yeah.
And partly because we bailed out these banks, and how many of them ended up in prison?
Well, zero. Yeah, well, unless they worked in Iceland, which had the correct attitude to their bankers. It was the only country on earth that did. Iceland. We appreciate it, Iceland. Thank you for the banking regulations, and thank you for Bajor. I should have asked him about telephones, because never mind about high energy drinks and crisps. It's phones that our kids are addicted to. We'll add it to the list of things that they're addicted to, such that there's increasing numbers of performers now who are insisting on, here's another £1 billion idea I didn't have, a little bag that they insist you put your phone in when you walk into an arena or a concert venue, and it locks, and you can't get your phone out. Even if it's something really important and you want to tweet a picture of your beer, because you might get likes. But how about that? What a great idea. The amount of times that I've been in a place where you're trying to look at something that's actually happening in real life, right in front of you. A real life human being is doing something on stage. But you can't see him because in front of you are 100 people who've all got their blooming phones in the air. And are not looking at the actual thing that's happening. They're looking at the thing that's happening through a 3-inch screen that was wobbling. God, it's infuriating. And why are they doing it? I'll tell you. You think that they're doing it so that they're recording it so that they can see it later. No, incorrect. Wrong. They're recording it so that they can put it on the internet so that they will get other people to like it. That's why they're doing it. They're addicted to the pings and the pongs and that their phone makes. Oh, somebody likes me, they'll say. It's a bit of reflected fame and glory. You get a picture of Justin Twinkleface and you put it on the internet and other kids will like it. Oh, I like it. They won't actually watch it. They'll just see like 2 seconds of it before going on to something else. But they'll just give you a little thumbs up. Oh, lovely. Someone likes me. God, it's pathetic. That's why they do it. Not to look at it later so that other people will like it and they will, by extension, become more famous. The whole world's gone crazy.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Russia. Vladimir who? I've never been to Russia. Never heard of Russia. There's no collusion. What does collusion mean? Donald, you are so guilty.
I'm a person that wants to tell the truth. I'm an honest person.
He lied. We're going to build a big, beautiful wall around you, Donald. He's got the guilt written all over him in giant orange paint.
I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall.
Yeah. But it's amusing. Thanks for the chuckles, Donny. Here's Wanstead. Hello, Sophie.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
I don't even want to mention that man today because I want a Trump-free zone in my head.
There's no such thing as a Trump-free zone.
That man's infiltrated all aspects of everyone's life and the whole world.
Our nooks and our crannies.
Exactly. But as you were talking about the crisps, I was eating some crisps.
Yeah.
But
what flavour?
They're chickpea puffs.
What?
They're healthy.
What?
Do you know the bright neon orange coloured crisps that begin with W that everyone loved?
Chickpea puffs. Is that what you said?
Yes, there's a healthier version of those nice
that sounds
orange
horrible.
They're lovely.
Are they as horrible as
really
rice cakes? Because they are the worst. Rice cakes are like eating drink mats that they serve in that they put under your pint in a bar.
It depends on which brand you get, Nick.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's like eating a cardboard drink mat. It's horrible.
You sound like my dad. The rice cakes with piri hummus are really nice.
I very much doubt that. You could cover them in any kind of thing you want, but there's still those disgusting rice cakes. You can squirt anything you want on it. Don't make no difference.
I have to say, I am vegetarian, but I'm not militant. Andrew Castle was talking about a story this morning about farmers' lives being endangered by, the militant vegans. I'm not going to dissociate myself from veganism, but I'm not.
Farmers are under danger from militant vegans? What are you talking about?
Because they agree, they think that animals are sacred and they shouldn't be harmed, and
Hey, listen, if animals shouldn't have been harmed, then why did God make them out of meat? Ask yourself that.
Now, what I have to say is we're inhabiting their world, actually. They were here before us, so we are actually trespassing, so we need to respect them a
All
bit
right,
more.
well, I'll see them in court. How does that sound?
We need to plead right away on this.
Here, listen, I've done my duty. I was a vegetarian for 20-odd years. So I've done my
I
bit.
know, and you went back to the dark side.
Well, I've mentioned this before. I thought I read an article from somebody who had done the same thing. They'd been a vegetarian since they were a student, and they about 20 years later, they wrote a piece in a paper. I can't remember which one it was. Probably The Guardian. Some hippie newspaper like that.
Yowza.
And they said, I can't remember why I'm a vegetarian anymore, so I'm going to stop. And I thought, oh yeah. I can't remember why I'm a vegetarian anymore, so I'll stop too.
Well, that journalist was probably a vegetarian because in your student days, all you ever eat is beans on toast, so probably couldn't afford the meat. But
yes, that's essentially it. I worked in a meat pie factory just before I went to university to make some money to go to the States, and. Oh boy, if there's anything going to put you off eating meat, it's working in a factory that handles mystery meat. Because it's okay in a pie, but if you are putting giant hoppers worth of that stinking, steaming stuff into, from great barrels of it and slapping it into hoppers, that'll put you off meat or mystery meat forever. And so I couldn't afford steak as a student, so I thought, oh, to hell with it, I'm just going to give up meat.
Lentils.
No, I won't eat. I will not eat lentils. That's a step too far.
But
lentils are people too, you know.
Yeah, they are. They need their human rights respected.
Exactly.
Their rights.
Yeah.
But talking about food, I probably asked you this before. What's the first aisle you pass when you enter the supermarket?
I've said this already. It's fruit and vegetables.
Fruit and vegetables,
Yeah.
exactly. And you cannot smell a thing. You cannot smell the fragrant fruit and vegetables because they've been sprayed to within an inch of their life with pesticides and herbicides, probably.
Well, but they don't smell. You got to get your nose right up into a vegetable before it smells, don't you?
Well, it's not normal. It's Frankenstein food. I absolutely do not even want to think about how long those fruits and vegetables.
That's a good point. The apple that you buy this year probably didn't fall. Even if you buy an apple in September, it probably didn't fall off a tree in September. It probably fell off a tree a year ago and has been sitting in a dark room in an atmosphere of chemicals.
Exactly.
That's actually true.
It's an absolutely grotesque world when you're mulling in the crisp aisle what flavour of crisp you want, and why do I need 1,000 versions of the same flavour,
Yeah.
the same crisp.
Mm-hmm.
These are first world problems. I think we have too much choice. Why do I need 500 different types of cereal?
Well, we think that our supermarkets are bad. Have you ever been to an American supermarket?
No, but I have been to Whole Foods.
Oh, no. Well, that's completely different. Whole Foods are actually there's proper
Quite
food.
nice.
There's proper food in there. But an American, like a general American food supermarket.
No, I haven't.
You
but
can
what if
look in vain. You can put like a backpack on and go on a week-long trip into an American supermarket, and you won't see any actual food. That your granny would recognise as actual food. It's processed garbage, just rows and rows and rows of processed garbage, and the result is that America is the fattest nation in the world. Not because its people eat so much, it's because its people eat so much garbage.
And I'm sure it's disrupting our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I'm convinced of it.
We're eating rubbish.
We
and,
are being
even
poisoned. The human race is being poisoned. I've said that many, many, many times. I'm convinced that it's true.
Exactly. And the fish, even the fish are changing gender. Now, forget the human community wanting LGBT toilets. The fish, their rights are not being respected. We're subverting their gender.
Yeah.
This is just, we're all going to hell in a handcart.
I know, we subvert their gender and then we bite their heads off.
Exactly. It's a sick, sick world.
Yeah, exactly.
What can you say?
All right.
And then we have Trump pushing the red button to end
please.
it all.
All right, well, what can't happen a moment too soon for those poor transgendered fish. Here's Catford. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, food. Blimey, it kind of it's an obsession. It's obviously important. Good food is great. I mean, but if you turn the television on, it's either people selling antiques or people cooking food. But has anyone in the history of the world ever, done a recipe that Nigella's done?
No.
I don't. Probably not. But I mean, saying to your young lady there, we came back from Greenwich today, and you were on, and this subject came up, and just curiously, I counted after 27 fast food outlets from Greenwich to here. I just lost count. I couldn't keep up. It's everywhere. It's every other shop in areas like Catford and Lewisham.
And not a scintilla of actual nutrition among them.
Nothing. It's horrible stuff. God knows. There's a new one. They call it a restaurant. I'm not allowed. I don't think, probably not allowed to use the name, but it's a chicken. It's fried chicken thing. Oh man, it's horrible. And it stinks. And it's about.
I'll tell you what it doesn't smell of: chicken.
No.
Mystery food. Yeah.
Now even as a student, I was brought up in the 60s. I mean, I don't want this to sound like, in my day.
But in your day, yeah.
In my day. I was sort of kind of brought up in the 60s and 70s, and became, an adult in the early 80s. And there just wasn't fast food. As far as I can.
No, I mean
remember.
the nearest it came was the old Wimpy. You're old enough to remember the Wimpy, right? Yeah. And they used to put there was the first place that I can remember that they put pictures of food as it was supposed to be served on the wall, and so you point at the picture on the wall, and they'd serve it to you. And I can remember they used to bend a sausage around a tomato. By
it's
some kind of
disgusting. Yeah.
Well, I remember being entranced by it. I thought that was fantastic. That place. They had milkshakes, which were just flavoured milk, as opposed to with ice cream and stuff. When the McDonald's first arrived in this country, it was like manna from heaven. It was like the country had just turned from black and white into colour. And oh boy, we used to send two clapped out old cars. One would go to McDonald's for the burger. Well, no, for the fries and the milkshakes and the apple pie. Caution, filling is hot.
Warning!
And another car would go and get burgers from the Hawaiian burger joint, the actual real-life meat, And that was just I'm salivating just to thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of junk is good for you now and again. There's no doubt about it.
No, it isn't. It is not good for you ever. It's never good for you. Can't be.
I don't know. I'm not a food snob, really.
I think what you meant to say was it's not necessarily bad for you every now and then, but it's not actually good for you.
Yeah. If you're chucking burgers down your throat every other 5 minutes, then it's obviously not good for you.
No.
But there's a revealing for me anyway, because this Burgess Park in Southwark, and it's 1967. This footage, I don't know, it's on glorious YouTube, and it looks like a beautiful 1967. And I look at it curiously because I might be there. I could have possibly been there, but and there are no fat people
at all. Yeah,
none. I mean,
I can remember in my school there used to be one fat kid in the whole year. There was one morbidly obese fat kid in the whole year. Everybody else was thin. All the other kids were thin. And that was, I'm sure, the case with every school in the land in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Now it's the other way around.
It is, and it's kind of. I think it's a huge, massive problem, and it's one of the biggest issues we've got concerned. You know, how are we going to afford all these big people? You know, I mean, what we can do with them? I mean, I don't know. You know,
how are we going to afford them? What?
Yeah.
Do we have to buy them by the pound?
Yeah. But there's so many waddling around where I go, and I actually do have sympathy for them, because it's about class. It's about whether your parents had books or talked or you know, had a discussion about anything.
You can draw a corollary from intelligence to weight. There's no doubt about it. But, and it's a huge but, I do think that it is almost beyond people's control, because like I said before, people in white coats in laboratories working for food companies, they could be spending their lives, these scientists, on doing good, but they're not. They're taking the money, just like the people with maths degrees could be working for the benefit of humankind, but they're not. They're working for hedge funds and making £1 billion by the time that they're 50, and then they're retiring and they're putting their feet up and on a solid gold boat. But what these people in lab coats are doing is coming up with the perfect combination of fat, salt, sugar to make it impossible for people to stop eating. We are actually being poisoned by the food companies.
I think you're right. I really do think you're right, and I think this is really so important. It's an addiction. You use that word a few times.
I mean, if the government is actually interested in in protecting the health of the human race, well, not the human race, but the people in this country, as should be the first order of business of any government, then stop banging on about preventing us from doing what we want to do, or what was that noise? Sounded like somebody was trying to dig in from upstairs. Did you hear that, my glamorous assistant? Are we under attack? Something very alarming. They must have been
my neighbours.
Must have been enormously heavy, because this building's made of concrete. But anyway, maybe the food companies are digging their way through the wall to take me out. I can't remember what I was saying now.
It's something that, I mean, not just for our economy and for our National Health Service, but for people's own lives.
That's what I was saying. If the government is actually interested in our health, instead of just pretending to be when it suits them, like with the grass debate, they keep saying we can't loosen up the laws on even medical marijuana because we're concerned about your health. Well, how about looking around and seeing how fat everybody is? How about doing something about that, for instance? That's the thing that's it's not the thing that's ruining the health service, but it's certainly not helping, is it?
No, it isn't, and it's making a lot of people miserable, because being overweight and nasty, it just makes everything horrible. It makes your family. It's just
you can't pick up a newspaper without it on the front page. It's telling you that there's just invented some super soar-away diet that will finally relieve you of your issues, and no such thing exists, because what people are eating outside of that diet, and after they finished on the diet, because you can't diet forever, foods that are provided by the food companies that are deliberately making us continue to eat until we're fat again. So it's like, and the food companies are providing the method of making us obese and then selling us the method of dieting. So it's just such it's a Gordian knot, and we have to get out of it. And the way to get out of it is don't get out of the fruit and vegetable aisle. Just eat that stuff.
You said something a while ago, ages ago, about tax, right? What we should do is we should tax everybody 20 pence more. Everybody in this country, but then we could pay for everything, and then we'd be happier, because as you quite rightly said, if you pay more tax and if you care more about each other and yourself and the way...
Oh my God, Stephen, you sound Danish now. That's right. No, we should be taxed, and we taxed like a Swedish person. We won't look like Swedish people.
No, not for a while. Not for a few generations.
But we'll be a little bit happier. Oh, pages and pages and pages. So I'm sorry if I didn't get around to doing your thing, but I've only got a 3-hour show. I had to get in a lot of issues. Television, no. Robocop, no. The police. Oh, this says, James says, maybe the police could use our excellent rail service to get to the incidents. We were talking about the private police force that I was talking about some moments ago. We could get the criminals to operate only within a mile of train stations, he says. There you go, all sorted, and I'm not even Home Secretary, says James. Well, can you start on Monday? T says, will these police drivers be able to speed, or will they get a ticket? And Chris says, perhaps you will believe us now when we tell you we still buy books with pages. My copy of your latest, as in my latest, is due to arrive tomorrow. It better be good, says Chris. Well, no money back if not completely satisfied. That is my guarantee to you. Who knows what might happen between now and next Friday? But I bet among it will be something stupid that Donald Trump says. I'd lay money on it.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.